Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily short story. Now, before I start today's story, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this short story and any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers and at your local bookstore and local library if you requested, and you can order paperback copies from Amazon. Now, here's today's short story. I hope you enjoyed just as much as I did writing it.
Blood and Bullies. Paul Rams just heaved as crippling pain shot through his stomach, radiated out of his torso, and every single inch of his body shook with pain. His eyes widened. He collapsed onto the cold concrete playground and hissed as his body tried to figure out what the hell had just happened. He rolled onto his side despite the crippling pain shooting through him. He saw all the other young adults in their blue t-shirts, black trousers, and terrified faces as they watched the bully in the center of the playground. The other teaching assistants in their blue t-shirts pressed their backs firmly against the ugly green metal fence that all English schools seemed to order en masse. The other teaching assistants weren't doing anything. Their hands were shaking, their knees were weak, and their minds were running 1,000,000 miles an hour. They were next to useless. Paul just stared at the massive hulking bully. He was easily twice the size of him, with more muscles, sharp razor teeth, and speed than humanly possible. The bully was far from natural. The entire playground stunk of sweat, blood, and death that seemed to pour off the twisted bully like bad cologne. Paul tried to get up, but he couldn't. He wasn't sure if the bully was almost supernatural, because this was Hell's Place. The strange former council estate where people died, disappeared, and other weird and twisted things happened every day. Yet it didn't matter. He had to protect everyone else. Thankfully, all the children with special educational needs were inside, safe and secure. Most of them probably didn't know what was happening, and that was a good thing. It was bad enough when a member of the public broke into the school. It was even worse when the person was a violent, thuggish bully who just liked beating people up for fun. Everyone had said becoming a teaching assistant was perfectly safe, secure, and it was a lot of fun. Clearly, those people had never been teaching assistants themselves. Paul's mouth tasted of hot iron as the blood dripped into his mouth. His joints hurt, his head ached, and a pressure was building against his head. He tried to sit up, but he couldn't. Every movement, every thought, and every sensation was just too much, but he had to do something because of John. His younger brother, who was barely 18 years old, was lying at the monstrous feet of the bully. He didn't know if John was dead, unconscious, or even if he was simply too scared to fight back. John had been the bravest of all of them. John had helped him get the kids to safety. He had ordered the more elderly staff members inside, and he had tried to protect little old Penelope before she'd been killed. Her large elderly corpse laid a few meters away. Her eyes were cloudy, all her joints were at unnatural angles, and half of her face was missing. The bully wasn't natural. The bully gripped John by the throat, lifted him off the ground, and gestured he was going to smash him. Paul's blood boiled. Urgency shot through him. His stomach churned. Paul stood up. He charged. He swung his fists at the bully. His fists smashed into the bully, but he didn't react. Paul's fists crunched under a force that wasn't there, and Paul collapsed to the floor again. He held his fists in crippling pain. Pain radiated from them, and he felt as if his fists had been dipped in lava, even though there were small flecks of the bully's blood on them. The bully whipped John's body like a rope, smashed his head onto the playground, and John's skull shattered like glass. Paul's eyes widened. His stomach churned, and his entire body went numb. He shook his head. His younger brother was dead. His kind, loving, and amazing brother was dead. The sweet younger brother who supported the children without complaint, no matter how severe their special needs were, no matter how many times he got bitten, and no matter how many times the kids beat him up. John never complained. He loved his job, and he loved the kids even more. He was dead. all because some pathetic, stupid, and murderous bully had wanted to invade his school. The bully smashed the rest of John's body, breaking every single bone, and his hot blood squirted out of it like a popped balloon. Paul didn't even care about the stupid pain. As his hands formed fists, he forced himself up and the bully laughed at him. The bully whacked Paul in the stomach, elbowed Paul in the ribs, punched him in the mouth. His blood sprayed out of his mouth, 3 shattered teeth dropped out, and Paul just bit the bully as hard as he could. The bully ripped Paul off like he was nothing more than an insect. Paul collapsed to the ground. All the other teaching assistants were screaming, running away, and just leaving him to die. His vision blurred. His entire body felt numb, and he could see a faint light in the sky. He shook away the silly thought. He wasn't dying today. An image of African tribes drinking blood, becoming strong and clever, and conquering their foes entered his mind. He smiled. It was only a few days ago, him and the kids had been learning about food customs around the world, and this was one of them. Paul looked at the bully's blood on his hands, and the hot taste of iron swam around in his mouth. He could easily lick, devour, and consume the bully's blood. It might contain his strength, his lack of intelligence, and everything else that made him so powerful. He licked his hands, swallowed the blood, and he hissed in pain as his stomach filled with a raging pain. Almost like 1,000 tiny ants were crawling around inside. Then the painful ants smashed free inside him, carved their way through all his organs and his muscles, and pure strength shot through him. The bully swung at him. Paul raised his hands. He caught the swing effortlessly. The bully's eyes widened, panicked, and he tried to get out of Paul's grip. Paul wouldn't let him. Paul closed his fists, shattered the bully's hands, and the bully screamed in agony. Paul kicked the bully in the shins. They shattered. The bully collapsed to the ground. Pure joy, power, and fun shot through him. It was brilliant being this powerful, this immortal, and no one could ever hurt him and his loved ones ever again. He was unstoppable. He was a god. He was the strongest man alive. Even the taste of hot iron was fading away, his stomach was relaxing, and happiness was the only thing he felt. He went to break the bully's knees when his muscles started to cramp, his head went light and his strength started to die. He frowned. Paul looked at the smiling bully, who was preparing another attack. Paul bit his lower lip. He had to kill the bully now. He needed more blood, and he needed more strength. John couldn't die in vain. He leapt onto the bully, pounding his fists into the bully's skull, and the skull shattered like a balloon. Paul didn't stop pounding the skull into the playground. Skin ripped, bones cracked, muscles popped. A few minutes later, the skull finished popping open, and a few precious drops of dark red rich blood oozed out. Paul licked his lips. It wasn't right, fair, or moral to drink the blood of a dead man, but he had to become stronger. If he wasn't so weak, pathetic, and useless, then sweet John would still be alive. If he was only better, then the kids would still play, be supported, and learn from John instead him. If he was only better, then today would have played out very differently. And he wouldn't have to plan a funeral when he got home. The distant sound of police sirens echoed around the playground. He heard the chatter, the shouting and talking of students in their classrooms, and he wouldn't be alone for much longer. Paul chomped into the bully's neck, drank his blood, and enjoyed the sweet blood gushing down his throat. His stomach filled with butterflies, his muscles tensed and grew stronger, and Paul just groaned in utter pleasure as his body transformed. A minute later, when all the sweet blood was drunk, Paul stood up, went away from the body, and went towards a very cute female detective who wanted to take his statement. White-suited crime scene techs rushed towards the body. Everyone started analyzing the playground and investigating what had happened, but Paul wasn't going to tell the truth. He needed to be free to hunt, to investigate and find the next strongest person so he could drink their blood. It would only be a matter of time before someone else threatened his family. Be it his parents, his sister, or his older brother. Someone would come for them. And this time, he wanted to be ready, the strongest, and ready to kill the threat. He needed blood for that, and only the strongest blood would do. So after the police interview, being cleared of any crimes and the school was back to normal, Paul quit his job, packed a bag, and went hunting. And he was going to flat out love every single moment of it. His life was brilliant, and he wouldn't change it for a single thing.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.